Morning, all. All right, so starting things off with the news of the day video for your Thursday, June the 22nd. Starting off with news out of Florida. Spencer Knight, who's been in the player assistance program, he is expected to be back with the team in the fall. The team says he's doing well, so that's great news for Spencer Knight and for the Florida Panthers, who, of course, will be looking to get themselves into a position to win the Stanley Cup next year after getting all the way to the final this year. And we'll see if any moves get made with either goaltender in order to make cap space elsewhere in the lineup. But at the very least, hopefully Knight's doing really well and can fulfill that promise that he's shown throughout his career that he could be a very good starting goaltender in his own right soon enough. Re-signing news. Olivier is re-signed with the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's a 2-year deal worth $1.1 million each. I think that's a solid deal. He was a good depth player for Columbus. Where things fell apart for Columbus was A, injuries, and B, just underperforming as some of the star players that did play. I wouldn't put it on Olivier. So, yeah, 1.1 million is a decent cap hit for what he brings to the team. So the NHLPA has started a program which I have thought for a long time, and I've talked about this too, that they need. So the idea of, players when they retire not really having a plan, we have seen with players who've retired in decades past, that their life can go way off the rails after hockey's done. Maybe they don't have a plan. Maybe they're not saving money. Maybe they're horrible with money, right? So the idea is to have a program the NHLPA will run here, which will help players transition into retirement and plan for retirement, including, finding things they're interested in, finding ways to enroll them in various programs here and there. And yes, they do get busy once the regular season has started, but during the off season, there are ways to look into what you might want to do after you're done with your hockey career. There are players, of course, who go to the NCAA and take that route to the NHL, but for some players that come right out of high school and go right into professional hockey. So they may not have a degree, they may not have an idea of what they're going to do when the hockey career is over. And while there are some who make a ton of money playing hockey, there are plenty of others that don't and don't make the kind of money that they can live on for the rest of their lives. So they absolutely need to have a plan for when the hockey is done. So all the best to the NHLPA as they get that program going. Although, what players have said too is that it feels like this generation of hockey players is a little more aware of, this doesn't last forever and what is our plan when this is all done. So they actually openly talk about it in the locker rooms and whatnot. So, yeah, I think it's a program that's well past due and good on them for that. So, news around the Calgary Flames, thus wearing the Flames jersey. Frank Saravalli stirring things up in Calgary town right now because he's reporting that Hannafin's kind of made it clear he's not intending to re-sign with the Flames. So his intention is, once this contract's over, he would go to market. So the Flames would be left then in a position this summer where they would, I think, move on from Hannafin. I don't think they'd want that going into next season. And defense is kind of a position of strength for the Calgary Flames as well. So if they move Hannafin, I would think they'd want a forward back. But this might end up being a bigger trade if they can't talk Lindholm into staying. So for Lindholm and Hannafin, of course, these guys tied to each other since arriving from Carolina together. Can the Flames keep either of them? And they're trying their best to talk Lindholm into staying beyond when his contract expires in 2024 as well. I think this is the right move, though, by Craig Conroy. Sit down, make sure that you know what these guys are going to plan to do a year from now, and then make a move if need be. Same position they were in with Matthew Tkachuk. The one thing the Flames have to make sure of is that it doesn't start to appear that nobody wants to play in Calgary, because once that reputation's out there, that ends up becoming an issue as well. So we'll see what happens with Lindholm. And there are other players as well the Flames would have to worry about in 2024. But right now, Hannafin and Lindholm seem to be the primary targets for the Flames to try to talk into sticking around. Speaking of sticking around, there's a player that won't be sticking around with the Colorado Avalanche. That's Erik Johnson. The Avs will not be re-signing Johnson. He will go to market. Johnson, of course, a player who's been in Colorado for a very long time. He'll be missed on the blue line, but I'm guessing that Sakic just wants to go in another direction. May want somebody who's maybe a little bit younger than Johnson, that kind of thing, or just figures, we've got the depth. We can absorb losing Erik Johnson, right? So we'll see what happens with Colorado. on July the 1st. And yesterday, Michael Carcone signed a 2-year extension with the Arizona Coyotes. It's a one-way deal worth an average of, or well worth, $775,000 per season. So what I like about this is that Carcone had a fantastic season in the AHL last year, and they reward him with a one-way deal, meaning at the AHL level, he will make the same amount of money that he does at the NHL level, and I think he earned that. I think he had a great year, and he'll probably get into more games, I would think, for the Coyotes this year. He would be a very late bloomer if he becomes a regular, but the Arizona Coyotes do a pretty good job of getting guys who maybe don't have a lot of value and growing that asset, and we'll see whether or not Carcone's another one of those assets, because if he plays well enough, and if he shows Arizona he can actually play, there's the possibility, too, that he ends up getting moved, that kind of thing, right? You always have to think that with Arizona. Just think a couple steps ahead, like, well, they've got this guy signed, and if he turns out to be pretty good, they could probably move him. Again, it's league minimum, so teams love guys who are playing well on league minimum contracts. But all the best to him, and hey, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.